Welcome to episode 7 of Attack of the Poison Outputs. Today we are beginning a new mini-series where we will be covering flooding attacks. Flooding attacks are especially relevant in 2024 because in March of 2024, Monero was, and it's highly suspected that this is the case, but Monero was flood attacked. And we saw this pretty quickly. The reaction on social media was everyone noticing that all of a sudden transactions surged in the month of March to about 5 times as much as it was. I think it was around 20,000 and then it surged up to 100,000. And a flooding attack was immediately thought of as a possibility of this happening. Plus, there was another effect where the transactions were clogging in the mempool, which was caused by a bug in the GUI and the CLI. So it was bad news bears for the month of March. So yeah, in part 1, we are going to look at what is a flooding attack. So I'm going to give just a brief, broad overview of what the concept behind a flooding attack is and how it can be used to attack ring signatures. In part 2, I'm actually going to give an example that happened that not a lot of people know about, which involved P2Pool. And I love P2Pool, so I don't want people to think this was their fault or anything. I guess it kind of was, but it was unintentional. But basically, they unintentionally were clogging ring signatures with their outputs, and because of that, they could have been removed. So we're going to go over that example because it is reminiscent of what a flooding attack is. And then in part 3, we will be looking at what happened in March 2024, which was this flooding attack, and we're going to be using, essentially, we're going to be reading Rucknium's research paper. Rucknium is one of the really smart minds behind the Monero Research Lab. He's doing a lot of great work, and his paper on this it's actually a pretty easy read, and I think you'll learn a lot from it. And in part 4, we will talk theories about what caused this attack. There are a couple different ones out there, and I even have a schizo conspiracy theory, which I will be sharing with you. So yeah, we're just looking at a 1 input, 2 output transaction, right? We have 1 ring signature going into 2 outputs. Now, in a flooding attack, what may be the case is that our ring member is not one of 16, but instead only one of 5. And in fact, during the spam attack in March of 2024, that actually happened. Our ring signatures decreased to the size of 5. That's how serious the flooding attack can be. And now if you use that with the chain reactions we talked about and the EAE and the EABE attacks, this becomes much more serious, right? So how does it work? Well, basically, let's say this is from the perspective of the attacker. What they're doing is they're spamming transactions. They're just sending this 1 input, 2 output transaction over and over and over to themselves. And it's very small amounts of Monero. And because Monero is low fee, this is easy for them to do. And in doing this, they are creating 2 stealth addresses that they know are their own. And so therefore, if either of these stealth addresses appear in a ring signature, they will know that they are decoys. So essentially what they're doing is they're mining stealth addresses, and they're just building up a huge catalog of them. And in doing so, they are de-anonymizing the Monero network. They are harming ring signatures. And this is, again, an effective attack, and it's relatively inexpensive, too, to pull off. One thing I'm curious about is why the government wouldn't just be spamming Monero transactions all the time. This is a relatively cheap attack. In fact, I believe the estimates for the attack in March was about $12,000 at like the most for how much it would have cost. And so you would think that if federal agents, that's like chump change for them, right? I mean, how much are we giving to Israel every month, right? So I look at this and I'm thinking this isn't like that much, right? I don't know. It's just very, very odd if you think about it. And the thing is, if you have that perspective that the governments want to attack Monero, why aren't they just constantly spamming it, right? That makes no sense. Let me give you an example. A single Tomahawk missile costs $2 million. Okay? With that money, you could cripple the Monero network. I think it's more likely that the deep state, they're kind of just like watching Monero and observing it and kind of just letting it grow. Kind of like with Tor, right? They respect it kind of thing. And I think they will use it down the road. Like if they want to funnel some crypto to the cartels, what do you think they're going to be using, 5-10 years from now? What are they going to be using now, right? So food for thought there. I'm going to leave you thinking about that. And as always, thanks for listening.